May I take this early opportunity, sir, to congratulate you on your recent appointment as the Minister for Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, and to welcome you to the livestock subsector in Kenya, in East Africa, and in Africa, and look forward, sir, to working with you in the days to come. Your presence bears testimony of the government of Kenya's and your personal support to the livestock sector in the region. Welcome all of you to Alice. Sir, assembled before you is one of the most comprehensive convergences of decisions and policymakers in the livestock sector, not only Africa, but in the global livestock arena. Among us here are leading livestock sector experts across the sector's value chains, renowned business leaders, agricultural researchers and scientists, government officials, officers from regional economic communities, farmers, among other livestock players, coming together to share knowledge, experiences, solutions, and technologies that will create the impetus for enhanced competitiveness and trade in the African livestock sector. Allow me to extend a hearty welcome to them. Special welcome goes to delegates who represent the following countries: Uganda, Tanzania, Sudan, Southern Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, South Africa, Malawi, Nigeria, Zambia, Liberia, Gambia, Botswana, Djibouti, Israel, Germany, Italy, Nepal, Egypt, Maldives, United States of America, France, India, Namibia, Netherlands, Burundi, Canada, the UK, and of course the host country, Kenya. I particularly want to extend a warm welcome to a very large delegation that I saw has come from Uganda. Sir, this is an important annual livestock event in which all the subsectors of the livestock sector get together. The organizations that I have mentioned, Kenya Livestock Producers Association, Eastern African Farmers Federation, and ESADA, bear the responsibility for putting together the conference, but in response to a request that came from AU-IBA, the International Livestock Research Institute, and GulfMed, among other regional international livestock subsectors. We draw this conference from an impetus strategy paper that was authored by GulfMed and other global sector partners, which then led to the putting together of this conference that is called ALICE. So I'll take the first opportunity to ask the chairman of the Kenya Livestock Producers Association, Mr. Geoffrey Kikungu, who is represented by his executive director, to make a few remarks speaking on behalf of the farmers of Kenya.
Kenya is the home of the Pan-African Farmers Organization, which was launched in Lilongwe, Malawi in 2011. And this is the apex of all farmer organizations in Africa. And the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation, which is a founder member, was launched in 2005 and is also headquartered here in Nairobi. Nairobi was chosen as the capital for the farmers of Africa, as well as the farmers of the region, because it is a regional hub, its proximity to important institutions in agriculture, such as the Africa Union Commission, IRI, among others, of course, relative stability, and as a vibrant agriculture sector. Eastern Africa Farmers Federation is a regional network of apex national farmer organizations, and these are cooperatives, farmer unions, agriculture commodity associations, livestock organizations, women and youth organizations in agriculture. We were formed out of the need for representation of farmers and dialogue on agriculture development related issues in the different regional economic communities. We have 22 member organizations spread over 10 countries of Eastern Africa, stretching from the East Africa community, the IGAD, with the exception of Somalia, all the way to DRC Congo. And our membership comprises over 20 million individual family farmers or smallholder farmers, and we represent the entire spectrum of agriculture, from crops, livestock, fisheries, and agroforestry. This membership, however, may look big, but it's only a paltry 20% of the entire farming community. In this conference, I think we've seen there are quite a number of farmers that we've actually been able to support to attend it. So, Eastern Africa Farmers Federation's vision is to enhance cohesion and prosperity of farmers, and we do this through representation, advocacy, and building their capacity. Regional integration is important to our organization and is the basis on which we were founded. We believe that as a region we can build a formidable economic competitive bloc since we are endowed with enormous wealth and untapped resources that need to be harnessed. As an organization, we have a strategic framework, 2012-2020, whose orientation is commercialization through farmer enterprises, and we believe that farmers must play their key role as key actors along any value chain. To deliver this framework, we have formed partnerships with different stakeholders, such as other regional farmer organizations of the continent, whom we together have launched the Pan-African Farmers Organization that engages at the continental and global levels. With governments, we have MOUs with the East Africa community, where we also have an observer status. We have an MOU with COMESA and IGAD, and are currently pursuing the regional parliament. And with the private sector, we are working closely with the East Africa Business Council and the East Africa Grain Council. And with research, we sit in the boards of ASARECA, which is the Association of Strengthening Regional Research in East and Central Africa, and FARA, the Forum for Agriculture Research in Africa. We also work with a number of NGOs that work in agriculture. We also engaged in various decision-making committees, such as the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program Multi-Donor Trust Fund Process, the Africa Development Bank Africa Fertilizer Financing Mechanism, the Partnership for Aflatoxin Control in Africa, which is under the AUC, among many others. We believe that these partnerships will help protect, support, and transform smallholder agriculture, which feeds over 2 billion people globally, into a sustainable and economic viable enterprise. Livestock is an important sector in this region, especially based on the fact that more than 70% of our land is arid and semi-arid, and hence is a way of life of many pastoral communities. And according to UNDP, any single drought, even in a 12-year period, in any specific country, can result in up to 10% drop in GDP, and this can translate up to 14% increase in poverty. I think you're aware that the drought events in this region are increasing in frequency and magnitude, and is taking a toll on the lives and affecting livelihoods of an increasing number of people, thus impeding us from achieving the MDGs. So, Eastern Africa Farmers Federation has thus developed a livestock strategy, which has thrust towards resilience and competitiveness. This strategy has informed us when mobilizing membership for livestock-based organizations. It has also informed our contribution to the finalization of the IGAD Regional Cardiff Compact and Investment Plan, a process which we are signatory to. The Africa Livestock Conference and Exhibition is thus an important platform for livestock farmers in this region to share and learn about developments in the sector, access information on technologies available, have business-to-business meetings with various value chain actors, and chart the way forward with respect to favorable policies and programs to grow this sector. You're very much aware of the contribution of dairy sector over the years to uplifting millions of farmers from poverty, as well as contributing towards the nutrition of millions of preschool and school-going children. We encourage other investors to use a similar approach of working with farmers through outgrower schemes, contracts, and even supporting cooperatives. It pays to be organized. So, the entire agriculture sector is facing numerous challenges, and livestock in particular has specific ones, which are not limited to challenges in pests and diseases, related escalating costs of inputs, and livestock feeds which have doubled over the last 5 years, unpredictable weather, uncertain land tenure, and conflicts, low value addition, disorganized markets. We however know that with concerted efforts, mutual partnerships, and the right investments, we can overcome these challenges. So the phrase in the international circles is that Africa is now the last frontier. There are thus major international investment vehicles being put up to make landfall in our dear continent. We have the Grow Africa, the New Alliance on Food Security and Nutrition, renewed partnerships for unified approach to end hunger in Africa by 2025, among many others. Investments are good and are welcome, but we ask our governments to protect African agriculture, ensure our markets are not vanquished, and that farmers and other small enterprises are not exploited and exposed. Governments must do so by providing leadership on public policy and ensuring that the Cardiff process that our leaders assented to in 2003 in Maputo remains Africa-led and Africa-owned. In conclusion, sir, As I conclude, COMESA has an annual food import bill of more than 22 billion US dollar. This deficit is not currently being serviced by the African farmers, but we believe that farmers can do it if we invest in organizing producer organizations into enterprises, invest in and protect all institutions that support the work of farmers, research, marketing boards like we have here in Kenya, the NCPB, banks that support farmers, institutions that provide inputs, that we support the development of markets for livestock and value addition for livestock products. We encourage the development and promotion of innovative and affordable pro-poor investment instruments and credit accessible to farmers. We mitigate risks associated with climate change. We invest in knowledge systems that enhance learning and sharing and exchanges. We invest in real-time data collection and analysis to enhance our competitiveness. And lastly, we ensure that we have the right policy environment in a process that will involve the participation of farmers. Thank you for listening to these few remarks, and on behalf of the Eastern Africa Farmers Membership and Board, may God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. I have the honor to express on behalf of the chairperson of the African Union Commission and the Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture our pleasure for the opportunity to participate in this important conference on the improving the competitiveness of the livestock sector in Africa to world-class status. May I also pay special tribute to the government and the people of Kenya for the manifest generosity, hospitality, and support in hosting the African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources, in short, AUIBA, in Kenya since its inception in 1951. AUIBA is the specialized technical office of the African Union Commission, mandated to support and coordinate the development of utilization of animal resources, livestock, fisheries, and wildlife in Africa for the well-being of our people and development of our countries. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, the large number of participants in this conference demonstrate to the importance of livestock in Africa. Indeed, recent statistics show that Africa is the home to a significant proportion of the world population of livestock, including 80% of the camels, 32% of goats, 25% of sheep, and 18% of cattle. However, Africa remains a net importer of almost all livestock products, with an annual outflow of over $6 billion to finance the imports. These imports are an indication of significant and growing market opportunity for African livestock producers, processors, and retailers in livestock surplus countries and regions to outcompete and recapture the market from external actors. Ironically, millions of pastoralists who depend solely on livestock for their livelihood are among the most vulnerable communities to the impacts of recurrent droughts that affect mainly the Horn of Africa and the Sahel region of this continent, with disastrous consequences on livelihood and national economies. Over the years, the political leaders in Africa has demonstrated commitment to the development of agriculture, including livestock, of course, as a key driver for economic growth, culminating in the adoption of the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, in short CADP, in 2003, as framework for agriculture development in Africa. However, gaps exist between the political commitments at the continental level and their translation into appropriate policies and investments at the national and regional levels to achieve the intended results. This is particularly the case for the livestock sector, where both public and private sector investments do not match the enormous potential of the sector. Indeed, the challenges confronting the livestock sector in Africa are many and multifaceted. An equally large number and variety of solutions are required, but resources are limited. There is an urgent need for Africa to identify and prioritize livestock value chains for which we have comparative advantage, for targeted but holistic investments in order to make positive and significant difference in the contribution of the livestock sector to the continent's economic development. This calls for appropriate policies, strategies, and investment by both the public and the private sectors at the continental, regional, and the national levels. The African Union Commission, through AU-IBAR, is committed to play its facilitating role with respect to policy and strategy setting, coordination, and catalyzing the contribution of livestock to Africa's socio-economic and integration agenda. Honorable Cabinet Secretary, we need your personal support in finding solutions to translate political commitments into national and regional action, plans and investment in support of livestock sector. Please assist us to make a difference so that the African livestock sector can engage more of our citizens in salaried employment. This will enhance household incomes, food and nutritional security, and contribute to securing socio-economic and political stability across the continent. I thank you all for your attention.
Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen. Minister, let me also join my colleagues in congratulating you on your recent appointment. ILRI and the family of CG centers based here in Africa, and particularly located here in Kenya, are anxious to work with you and all your officials to advance the cause of agriculture development here in Kenya, in Africa, and globally. Minister, I have the distinct honor and privilege to brief you on the intended deliberations of our conference. I do so on behalf of the African Union, Inter-African Bureau of Animal Resources, the Global Alliance for Livestock Veterinary Medicine, Eastern and Southern Africa Dairy Association, Kenya Livestock Producers Association, East Africa Farmers Federation, UNGA Limited, the Kenya Cooperative Creameries, and of course my own institution. Minister, our theme for this conference and exhibition is towards a competitive and sustainable world-class livestock sector. This theme is responsive to the global concern, even anxiety, about how the world will feed itself by the time population stabilizes at over 10 billion people, sometime in the mid-2050s. By then, there will be 2.5 billion more people than there are now, 60 to 70% more food will be produced at that time on a fixed land base that some say is reaching its ecological limits. The livestock sector must play an important role in meeting that food and nutritional security here in Africa and the world over. I say food and nutrition security because the livestock sector can do both. One can be fed but not nourished. In the case of the livestock sector, both are accomplished. Minister, our deliberations are likely to justify and affirm the very importance of the livestock sector and to illustrate its growth globally. The developing world contributes 30%. In the developing world, livestock contributes 30 to 40% of agriculture GDP and is growing rapidly in response to increasing population growth, urbanization, and mostly increasing incomes. This rapid growth in demand for animal source foods will continue well into the future, as per capita consumption of such foods is quite low in the developing world. Here in Africa, consumption of meat is just about 10 kilograms per year. Minister, it is important to note that more than 50% of the supply of animal source food come from smallholder producers. In Africa, this figure is about 70%. It is also important to note that in Africa, between 2000 and 2050 and 2030, the demand-led livestock sector growth will see consumption increase for poultry meat by about 200%, for beef by over 100%, for pork by 150%, and for milk by over 100%. The value of all these animal source foods consumed, excluding eggs in Africa, in 2006 and 2007 was about $33 billion. By 2050, around the time when population is likely to stabilize on the continent, the projected value of the animal source foods to be consumed by that time will be over $100 billion. A critical part of our deliberations at this conference will be on how to facilitate full participation of smallholder producers in this rapidly expanding market. While all this may sound like a grand self-indulgence by a set of livestock kindred spirits assembled at this conference, it is not. There is a sobering side to all this, and we will discuss the fact that a larger and larger share of this demand for animal source foods is being met by imports. We will, of course, lament the reality that this is the reality despite the fact that Africa is extremely well endowed with livestock resources and the potential of the sector is vast. Minister, ladies and gentlemen, despite the importance of the livestock sector, it is largely neglected. Discussions on agriculture by policymakers and others invariably focuses on crops. The neglect of the livestock sector, and in particular the potential of the more than 200 million small-scale livestock producers, not only condemns the continent to steeply rising import bills, but assures that it will miss the enormous potential to meet the need for this food and nutritional security while also reducing poverty, creating prosperity, and transforming the rural economies. Even as I say this, I believe this justified claim of neglect. It is incumbent on me to note that the exception is Kenya in this regard. Here, this sector receives considerable attention, more attention than in most countries, and therefore demonstrate commensurate growth and development. Your presence here at this conference, for whatever time you're available to spend with us, Minister, illustrates the importance that you have already attached to the sector. We ask for your support in raising the livestock sector higher up the development continuum and for helping us to transform the sector so that both producers and consumers will benefit. In closing, Minister, my brief, I must say that I know that there are many powerful voices out there who would like to say to you that the neglect of the livestock sector is justified. Their claim would be that the livestock sector contributes to global warming and high consumption of meat contribute to obesity with concomitant health effects. To the point on the environment, I would say that we can make the livestock systems more environmentally sustainable. For example, we can cut the carbon footprint per unit of livestock product as aggressively as we can increase productivity of cattle. To those who make the claim that overconsumption of livestock products leads to obesity, I would say this: there is no moral equivalent between those who make poor choices of food and those who have no choice of food. Minister, Chair, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much.
Sir, it's now my singular honor to invite you to address the delegates and officially open the conference.
The chairman of ESADA, Dr. Kipkurui Langat, the head of mission of AU, Professor Hamed El Sawadli, KLPA chairman, Mr. Kikungu, EAFF chairman, Mr. Kiriro, Director General Ilri,